Hey everybody, welcome to Gary Talks. I've always been a fan of medical dramas, medical TV shows, and this year there are two really good ones that have been released. One is The Pit on Max, and the other is Pulse on Netflix. So in honor of those, I thought today I would look at my top 10 favorite medical TV shows. And I have a very special guest, the star of Pulse, Willa Fitzgerald, who I'll talk to in just a bit. But first, let's jump right in at number 10. It's a show called ER starring George Clooney. No, it's not the one you're thinking of. In fact, it's an early 1980s sitcom called ER. This short-lived sitcom starred Elliot Gould and a young George Clooney, making it notable for its casting alone. The sitcom ER took a comedic approach to hospital life, which was rare at the time. It didn't dive into life or death drama, but it offered a lighthearted look at the personalities who make up a medical staff. It wasn't a game changer, but its humor, characters, and unique place in TV history make it a charming, if underrated, entry on this list. Next up at number 9 is the first TV show I remember being a huge fan of as a little kid. I had to watch it all the time, I had the board game, I loved it. I bet a lot of you have never even heard of it. That show is Emergency. Premiering in the 1970s, Emergency was one of the first shows to focus on paramedics, giving viewers a glimpse into what emergency response looked like in real time. The show was created with input from the Los Angeles Fire Department and aimed to educate as much as entertain. It depicted everything from car crashes to heart attacks with impressive procedural accuracy for its time. While its storytelling may feel tame by today's standards, it was a pioneer. Its focus on rescue operations, ambulance dispatch, and ER handoffs helped define the template for future shows. Coming in at number 8 is a show that a lot of you might not consider a medical TV show. It certainly wasn't a procedural one, but the main character was a doctor, so I'm counting it. That show was Northern Exposure. A delightful oddball on this list, Northern Exposure follows Dr. Joel Fleischman, a fish-out-of-water New Yorker assigned to a tiny town in rural Alaska. While it's light on surgical drama, it's heavy on charm, character development, and philosophical musings. This wasn't a show about high-stakes trauma. It was about connection, community, and the unexpected ways people heal. The townsfolk, quirky, endearing, eccentric, were as much a part of Joel's transformation as any medical case. The show seamlessly blended humor, romance, and mysticism. Northern Exposure reminds us that medicine is more than science, it's humanity. Next up at number 7 is a show that I don't truly love, but you have to respect for how long it's been around, and those first seasons were pretty damn good. Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy might be the longest-running scripted primetime medical drama, but it lands at number 7 because its quality has waxed and waned over time. That said, its early seasons were a lightning bolt, full of emotion, romance, and unforgettable characters. Shonda Rhimes created a world where heart surgery and heartbreak went hand in hand. Its soundtrack, voiceover narration, and dramatic cliffhangers became part of the culture. But as the seasons piled up, some of the magic dulled. Yet its staying power and its ability to constantly reinvent itself with new faces and new stories is impressive. Grey's changed the game for network drama and deserves recognition, even if it's not as tight or consistent as the shows I've ranked higher. Coming in at number 6, St. Elsewhere. Before ER or Grey's Anatomy, there was St. Elsewhere, a trailblazer that fused ensemble storytelling with bold experimentation. Airing in the 1980s, the show featured complex characters, overlapping plot lines, and a willingness to deal with gritty, even taboo topics. AIDS, euthanasia, race, sexual harassment. It launched the careers of stars like Denzel Washington, Ed Begley Jr., and Howie Mandel, and it wasn't afraid to get weird. Its now infamous Snow Globe finale remains one of the most talked about endings in TV history. This show laid the groundwork for the golden age of prestige TV, and that's why it still deserves our attention. Before I continue on with the top 10, here is my interview with the star of Netflix's Pulse, Willa Fitzgerald. There is a brand new show on Netflix right now that everybody's talking about called Pulse, and we are joined by the star of that show, Willa Fitzgerald. Thank you for being on Gary Talks.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. It looks like Pulse is going to be the next hit show in a long line of medical dramas. Before you were cast in the show, were you a fan of that genre?
Oh, I was. I grew up watching House all the time. I rewatched all of Early Grey's at the beginning of the pandemic, and I really I came into the show being a fan of the genre for sure.
So tell me a little bit about your character, Dr. Danielle Sims.
Yeah, I mean, Danny is a third year medical resident in a level one trauma center in Miami, which is obviously a very high pressure job. And we kind of see her on the day that her life really changes in the hospital, where not only is she kind of suddenly promoted to a new level at her work, but she also has this sort of bombshell revelation that everyone finds out about at the same time.
So when you're doing a show that is half high stakes medical drama and half like a relationship type show, is that hard to balance all of that with your performance?
I think it's actually kind of a great situation because you have the medical scenes, which are their own sort of beast in terms of conquering the terminology and really the just the act of doctoring that happens, and then contrasted with the interpersonal dynamics, and we have flashbacks in the show. I think there's a lot of room to kind of always beginning to explore a different layer of the character, and I found that actually really kind of refreshing as I was shooting a full season of the show.
Well, you mentioned terminology, and I know when I watch these kind of shows, all the actors are running around saying super long words and adding, 10 cc's, need that stat. Was that difficult to get all of that down?
I actually found it very fun. I really loved getting to learn as much as I got to about the procedures that we were doing, and I feel like the hardest part of it was learning new words that are quite long that you need to be able to say as though you've said them a million times, like cricothyrotomy. That was you have to practice for many days leading up to it, just saying it in your head until you feel crazy.
Okay, so now that you've played a doctor on TV, do you ever find in the real world you start thinking like a doctor? Like one of your friends comes to you and they say something's wrong and then you try to diagnose them?
I think that's always been a facet of my personality. I am jokingly referred to as the doctor in my friend group, so I think I've only taken it to the next level.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're a squeamish person in general, but some of these medical shows have some crazy gore. So was there anything that you saw in Pulse that really just made you sick?
Yes, because we had amazing prosthetics department. The people who did our prosthetics for the show truly are incredible, and gave us fake bodies to work on that were incredibly accurate. So it was. I'm not a squeamish person, but I was very into all of the wild stuff we got to play with.
Now, it seems like Pulse is really stacked with great actors. What was it like working with this cast?
Just such a delight. I mean, especially when you're kind of working such long hours and you're in every day, it's really lovely to kind of be supported by such an amazing group of talent across the board, because it just makes your day-to-day experience of being in the office just so much easier. You have so much to already work from.
Well, I do have to say that it always seems like Netflix has one show that everybody's talking about, everybody's sharing scenes from it, everyone's talking about on social media, and it looks like Pulse is going to be that show. Everybody should check it out on Netflix, see what the fuss is about, and thank you so much for being on Gary Talks.
Thank you.
And now back to the list. Coming in at number 5 is a show that I loved, and in fact I think the first season is perfect. But as happens a lot with Ryan Murphy shows, it got more outlandish and crazier and really dropped off by the end. But still, all in all, it's in my top 5 medical TV shows of all time. Nip Tuck. Nip Tuck broke the mold for what a medical show could be. Instead of hospitals and emergencies, it dove into the world of plastic surgery, full of vanity, excess, and questionable ethics. Christian and Sean, the show's central surgeons, are as flawed as the patients they fix. But this isn't just about cosmetic procedures. It's about the masks that people wear, the trauma they hide, and the line between healing and exploitation. Creator Ryan Murphy packed the series with moral gray areas, shocking plot twists, and stylized melodrama that bordered on surreal. One minute you're watching an intense surgical scene, and the next, you're confronting a serial killer. Nip Tuck was fearless in its storytelling and emotionally unsettling in a way few other shows dared to be. Number 4 is a very recent show. In fact, it's so recent it's only had one season, and that season is pretty marvelous. If the show continues for 4 or 5 more seasons, continues with this quality, I could easily see it moving all the way up to number 1. But right now it's at number 4, The Pit. Landing at number 4, The Pit dares to go where most medical shows won't. The real-life grind of an underfunded urban hospital. It spotlights a side of medicine that's often overlooked, serving marginalized communities, dealing with bureaucracy, and working with limited resources. Its characters aren't glamorized, they're overworked, underpaid, and emotionally raw. The Pit brought a gritty realism to the genre, and it tackled systemic issues head-on. Racial disparities in healthcare, mental illness, addiction, and the emotional toll of burnout. The writing has bite, the acting has soul, and the tone is uncompromising. It may not have ER's polish or House's flair, but it has truth, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Number 3 is a show I really loved, but I have to dock it just a tiny bit because it became very, very predictable. There would always be the case that nobody could solve, the doctor was cranky and moody, but then somewhere right around the end he would have an epiphany and he would always figure it out. But still, the character was so much fun, I loved the show. Number 3, House. House earns its number 3 spot by flipping the traditional medical drama on its head. Instead of focusing on the emotional lives of patients or the camaraderie of a team, it centers on a deeply flawed genius who views people as puzzles to be solved. Dr. Gregory House, played by Hugh Laurie, is misanthropic, addicted to painkillers, and largely indifferent to social norms. But he's also the sharpest mind in the hospital. What made House work so well wasn't just its diagnosis of the weak structure, but how it dissected ethical dilemmas, biases, and personal demons. The brilliance of House lies in how it questions whether saving a life is enough if you lose your humanity in the process. So I've done a lot of sitcom episodes, and one of the things I always talked about was I never knew if I could quantify this show as a sitcom, so it never made the list, which was a shame because it's one of the best shows ever on TV. While it might not be a sitcom, it most certainly is a medical TV show. Coming in at number 2, MASH. More than a classic, MASH is a cultural touchstone. Yes, it's hilarious, but what elevates it to number 2 is its ability to pivot between absurdity and agony. Set during the Korean War, but airing during and after Vietnam, it was a Trojan horse for anti-war sentiment, philosophical musings, and heartbreaking realism. It depicted how people laugh, love, and break down under unbearable pressure. Its characters weren't just funny, they were real, damaged, and striving. Episodes like the series finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, just weren't TV. They were events that changed how audiences thought about war, television, and even life itself. The show's ability to balance slapstick with genuine social commentary makes it eternally relevant. MASH didn't just explore medicine on the battlefield, it explored the human heart under siege. And now for number 1. I think it's a show that very few people could argue with because this really set the bar for medical shows on TV. ER. ER holds the top spot because it didn't just raise the bar for medical dramas, it created the modern standard. The pacing, the handheld camera work, the intersecting storylines, the emotional stakes, everything felt urgent and real. Created by Michael Crichton and produced by John Wells, it was groundbreaking in how it portrayed emergency medicine as chaotic, noble, and deeply human. It covered everything: gun violence, HIV, addiction, mental health, and healthcare policy. ER wasn't afraid to let characters fail or die, often in shocking ways, and it constantly asked hard questions about what it means to heal. The show's ability to evolve over 15 seasons while never losing its moral core is part of what makes it the definitive medical drama. It didn't just tell stories in a hospital. It told stories about the hospital, the people it saves, the people it fails, and the people who try to hold it all together. That's it for this week. I'd like to thank my guest, Willa Fitzgerald. Everybody check out Pulse on Netflix. It's a really fun show, even though it didn't make my top 10. Next week, I'm going to look at my top 10 favorite albums from the 2000s. See you then.
From caves to tapes, Gary's on the case. He's breaking down each scene, every comic strips. Gary's flipping